Greens, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dante, and welcome to Project Podcast. Last time, I made a podcast about our opinions on Nintendo and the consoles, handhelds, and video games. In this podcast, I'll be making a follow-up to that by focusing on our opinions on other video games, consoles, and genres. Now, before we get started, I would like to introduce our new guests.
Hello, my name is Toby, and I was on the podcast last time.
Hello, my name is Luke, and I'm new here on the podcast.
That's great. The very first question I want to ask you is, what was your introductory to video games?
My introductory to video games was via the Wii U. No, sorry, not Wii U, Wii. With Mario Kart. That was probably the first ever game I played.
Okay then. What about you, Luke?
My introduction to video games was probably from the PS2, where I used to play games like Spider-Man 2 off of it, and some other Spider-Man games basically as well. Like, I think there was a Spider-Man 3 game that I played on that as well.
That's interesting. My first introductory was with the Wii, and the very first
Same
game
as me.
I ever played was Wii Sports.
Oh, I love Wii Sports.
But it could also possibly
funny.
be the Nintendo DS with New Super Mario Bros. DS.
For me, I when I properly got into games, because it wasn't really exactly on the PS2. Like, I basically started getting into games, but when I started properly getting into them, it was on the mainly on the PS3, where I basically just got into playing very violent games like COD.
Alright then. The third question I want to ask you two is, what were your childhood games? What were the earliest video games you ever played as a kid?
My earliest ones was probably on the Wii, my first video game console, and my introduction to video games. Probably Mario Kart, that's a big game. And probably then a couple of years later with the Wii U, I completed my first ever game, which was Lego City Undercover. I can always remember that was the only game that I've completed.
That's it? Alright then. There's a lot of famous good games you had.
For me, my childhood games would be, the one that I mentioned before, and Spider-Man 2, because I like playing that game due to the freedom it kind of gave you throughout the game. It's the first open world game I played before, I think it was probably Assassin's Creed was the next one. But I just like the whole feeling of being able to just be able to swing across the map, which was New York, and they got the web slinging done really well in that game, even though it was really old. And then my other childhood games would basically just be COD games, which would be Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, and mainly just the Modern Warfare franchise, and then a couple of the Black Ops games, and then World at War, which, yeah, my childhood games, some of them are really violent, and then some of them are just childish ones, some Lego ones. I used to play Lego Pirates of the Caribbean a lot. But the ones that I don't think I really completed a game when I was really young. Not fully 100%ed getting all the achievements or anything, but if you're going on about the basis of completing the story and campaign, I'd say it'd be Call of Duty, but that one's decently straightforward. But that was probably one of the first games I completed. Didn't get all the achievements though. It's only until recently where I've started completing games 100% for the achievements, because I just never really bothered with it.
Yeah, I think I was around possibly 11 or 12 years old when I completed the Lego game. And yeah, I don't think I got all of the achievements or any secret things, but I completed the main story, which was a first for me at that time.
As for me, I haven't played any of the Lego games, but I do heard from them they're very good games to play. As for my childhood games, the most memorable ones are the new Super Mario Bros. Games, more specifically DS and Wii, but I wouldn't beat those two games until I was age 13 and 16 years old, respectively, for both games. The fifth question I want to ask next is, what are your top 3 favorite video game genres?
Top 3 favorite genres: racing, simulator, probably. I do like a good simulator. And probably also open world as well.
That's great. What about you, Luke?
For me, I like open world games as well, but I tend to mainly like games that are like usually story focused, but I do like multiplayer games like shooters and stuff. But I tend to like kind of games that are kind of like RPGs that are story focused only, because at that point, I don't know, it's just you can get like really good stories out of them, and then like if you're playing with friends, you can just jump onto a shooter or something, play with them. It's just, that's why I'm like with my genres. Open world games though, that can come under basically both of them, since you can have open world RPGs that are story focused, and then you can, I don't think there's really many open world shooters though, from my knowledge. At least not ones that are good anyway. Unless you count Battle Royales, I don't know if that counts as open world.
Okay. As for me, my top 3 favorite genres has to be like, from number 3, I would say fighting games, because when it comes to fighting games, one of my favorite things to do is like practice on chain combos, as well as knowing when and where to pull out an attack. The most big example is Smash Brothers. For next one is racing games, because thanks to games like Mario Kart and Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform, and platformers is the last one, both like 2D and 3D. The next question is, what are your favorite third-party games?
My favourite third-party, probably Bus Simulator. I think they've had about 3 or 4 games out now, and thanks to the latest tram extension on the latest one, they're releasing a tram simulator, so I'm gonna get that. And also House Flipper. I actually really like that game, and I've been really looking forward to the second one also. Which basically does what it says on the tin. You basically just redecorate old houses that have been through some tough times, just make them into nice new homes.
So you don't literally flip a house?
No, no, but I like playing quite soothing games, and they supply me with that.
Alright, so what are your favorite third-party franchises?
Mine, I would probably say it's probably like COD again, just not the new ones. Assassin's Creed, but not the new ones. And then GTA, because that comes under third party. And you have games like Just Cause, which are really good games. They're a fun open world sandbox game where you can you basically just go around blowing stuff up. And then you have the Payday games again, which you also have Payday 3, which is a new one that's out, but I need to properly play that. But I can play off the Series X because it's got Game Pass, but there's controller delay, so I think I might just wait until I ever decide to get on the PS5. And then another third-party game would probably be like Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. Them games are good. Battlefront 2 was a really good game until EA decided to shut it down because they don't know what they're doing with the money. They shut it down and then put the money towards Battlefront 2042, and that went nowhere. The game's only on its like 3rd season. It's been out for like a year and a bit. That game's trash. I wish Battlefront 2 still got support, but no, they shut it down.
Alright then, as for me, my favorite third-party franchises, there's a lot of them, but the most big examples for me is Sonic, the Mega Man franchises, Rayman franchise, and finally Crash Bandicoot. Those are like 4 third-party franchises I remember liking that I consider my favorites. Which is the most underrated and overrated video game consoles and portable?
Okay, right, my opinion is probably going to be controversial, but I don't think any console is underrated or overrated. I think they sit quite comfortably side by side. I think every different console has something different to offer, and it just depends what you want.
I would say the Xbox Series S is overrated. It's advertised a lot as being put down as a next-gen gaming console, when the flipping output of the graphics and stuff is just, it's not good at all. Like, I'm pretty sure like the Xbox One X is better than the Xbox Series S.
Yeah, I heard, my uncle read somewhere that apparently video game designers aren't happy about Xbox releasing the Series S because for what they want to do with their games is limiting them for the Series S, whereas what they want to do, the Series X can handle it, but the Series S can't. So the game designers have been, and the developers have been pleading Xbox to stop selling it as a next-gen console because it's not working for them.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
So they're having to compromise on their games. ones.
It's not a next-gen console. Compared, they should have just done something like what PlayStation done, because the Series S is meant to be a digital console, and PlayStation done it better, because what they done is you have the physical PlayStation, which has the disc drive, then you have the digital one, which doesn't have the disc drive, and it's basically the same console.
So does the PlayStation 5 not have a disc in it?
No, if you get the digital one, the PS5...
So they make two different versions?
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that.
The only difference is that one of them costs like more expensive.
Oh,
than the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Both of them still expensive, but one costs slightly less.
The digital one is like 100 quid cheaper than the one with the disc drive. You're paying 100 quid for the disc drive, which is a bit, but still, you pay 100 quid less and you get the exact same console just without the disc drive. Compared with Xbox, it's like you get a console without a disc drive, which is just, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, after from my one to finding which series console I should get, it was really tough for me, but I got the Series X, and apparently according to you, I made the right decision.
Another console I'd say is an overrated one would probably be the original Xbox One. The original one, no.
I was not in the gaming zone when that appeared.
No, that console flipping... when you put it alongside a blooming PS4 playing GTA, both the same game, PS4 can run GTA 30 FPS at 1080p, and then here's the Xbox One running the game at blooming 900p as the resolution, and then just struggling to stay at 30 FPS. It's like about 20 or something. It keeps going between 20 to 30. Like, it's not a flipping good console when it came out. If you got this decision between an Xbox One or a PS4, you go with a PS4, and then when the One S came out, that's still worse than a standard PS4. It's just the fact it can do 4K. But the Xbox One X is actually a decent console. That is, Xbox One X is better than the PS4, and I think it's slightly better than the PS4 Pro, and the Xbox One X is also better than the Series S. But when it comes down to PlayStation just tends to know what they're doing with consoles. Portables though, underrated portable, I would say, I don't know, maybe PS Vita. PS Vita was a bit underrated, and it was an alright portable console. I would say overrated, like maybe the Switch slightly is a bit overrated, because like one that I would say is like a really good portable would be the Steam Deck. Steam Deck, you can play a lot of games off that. You get the whole Steam library you can play off that. Compared to the Switch, you're stuck with mainly Nintendo games and a couple other stuff.
Okay. As for me, I think the most underrated video game console portable is, for the console, it's to me the Wii U, and this is a console I talked about last time. So to summarize, I think the Wii U is underrated because I think it gets overshadowed by its successor and its predecessor being the Switch and Nintendo Wii. B, I think it had a lot of great games that were already on Switch. And C, I think it was held back by terrible marketing. The problem with the Wii U is that Nintendo had no idea what to do with the Wii U. Was it like the successor? Was it its own thing? Back in 2010, people didn't know. As for underrated portable, I would say the 3DS, because same with the Wii U, had poor marketing. And there you have it all the questions that answered throughout this podcast. If there's one thing that everyone can agree on, is that everybody is going to grow up with games differently. Like my previous podcast, I had quite fun making this podcast with Toby and Luke. Before I end this podcast, is there any question you would like to ask?
Don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Alright then. Thank you all for coming in this podcast room to answer all my questions.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will end this podcast now. Thank you for watching or listening.
Watching.
Wherever you're listening on YouTube or in other platforms.